somebody who's already working at Facebook, somebody who's already got that dream job that you're looking for. And so being able to build our human capital, I think, is important. And so to anyone who is listening to your show today, and I know that there's a lot of people who are, I want them to challenge themselves to say, who are the young people in their lives that they're mentoring, right? Who are the people that they're taking a daughter to work, even if it's not that day. But if they're bringing somebody into their lives and introducing them to, like, this is what it looks like to run a nonprofit. Come, visit, follow me. I'm going to serve as a formal or informal mentor to you, because building up that human capital is just so unbelievably important. So those are some of the challenges when it comes to entrepreneurship and when it comes to individuals who are seeking employment. The challenges of being an African-American woman leading are big, right? This is if ever there was a time, Black women are shining in every place and space that you can imagine right now. Our vice president, Supreme Court, governors. I mean, it's an amazing time.
Our Attorney General,
our Attorney General, the head of our state Senate. Like, we have got Black women doing the thing. It's amazing.
That's right.
But we've also got Black women who are under incredible pressures as the president of Harvard University, right? So it is challenging to be an African-American woman. We are often asked to lead at the point and place when an organization is in crisis, when the resources are very thin, when it is time to look at culture and look within, and we are given these massive assignments and not given the massive support in order to be successful. So for women who want to go into leadership, my advice is almost the same. Make sure you're not stepping to the role of being the senior vice president, the executive director, the senior director of anything, unless you've got your girl crew around you, right? You've got to have those people that you can call on, that can be responsive to you, that can be honest with you and say, you know what, sister, that person may have a little bit of a point. So let's figure out how we can address that, or those times when we are being held to a higher standard that is not fair. So I think that for any woman in leadership right now, it is the absolute time to have yourselves your own girl band that is supporting you in your work. And I'll put in the brothers too. The brothers, if they're going to move into leadership, make sure that you have that support that's around you, because it is a really challenging time for any leader. And then the last thing that I do is I'm the head of the Civilian Complaint Review Board. And so in that role, there are cases that are brought to the department. I'm the head of the board, so that there's the board of directors, and then there's the folks who all day, every day, with the actual government staff work members who do the actual work and process the complaints that go before us anytime a member of the community has a negative interaction with the police department. The CCRB's, one of their proudest moments was that they were the ones that actually got justice for the murder of Eric Garner. And so we are responsible, like I said, anytime members of the police come and have, members of the community have issues with the police. But it's a challenging role. The recommendations that we may make, saying, some level of discipline that we feel like is appropriate for a member of service who has a negative interaction with a member of the community. Ultimately, any decision that we make, any recommendation that we make, has to be approved by the commissioner of the police department. So basically, we can say, we think that this police officer should have this many days of suspension. We think this police officer should go to this portions of training, and or this member of service, we don't think should be working there anymore. And it's up to the police commissioner to say yes, no, or maybe. And that's a challenge for us, because we feel like the police are still being responsible for policing themselves. And so that's one of the other challenges that I face in that role of being the interim interim chair of the CCRB. So you asked me for one question and I gave you 3 answers.
Well, first of all, because that's Black girl magic and you got 25 jobs.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
And the good thing about all of this that you're explaining to us, and this is what I like to really horn in on, is you are sharing with our listening audience how you are able to do it. And the thing that I like about these shows, Arva, is that when you tell people, listen, you can lead an organization, be clear to have your network, be clear to have your support and your encouragement around you. Because if you're leading an organization and you turn around and nobody's following you, you're only taking a walk. right? So
Absolutely,
you're
yes.
telling us,
Hmm.
you're telling us how you're able to sustain. And I mean, the barriers are real, and we're clear about barriers. But what about best practices? Like, what are some of the things that you're doing that you've put in place since you've come into this organization to lead in a different direction? Because first of all, you already said 104 years, only the
Hmm.
second woman, right? And
Hmm.
so I can see that just walking in the door as there's some change a coming, right? So there's some
Hmm.
things that we need to do to be more inclusive. There's some things that we need to do to be more supportive. There's some things we need to do to take everyone to the next level. And that's how you've always been. You've always been inclusive. You've always like taken us by the hand, whoever it is that you're working with in the organization, partnering with them and giving the best that the Urban League has to offer, giving the best that you, Arva, have to offer. And so it's no surprise to me that you're the interim chair for the Civilian Complaint Review Board, because I already know where your passion and your heart is. And
Hmm.
this is something that people need to see. This is real life things that impact your life every single day. And so
Hmm.
we talked about those barriers. What are some of the best practices? Yes, it's a challenge that the police commissioner has to sign off on it, but you guys have been able to make momentous movement in what you're doing now with the Civilian Complaint Review Board. You've been able to make some recommendations, and things have changed as a result of just you being in that space, understanding your community, understanding yourself, and being clear and unapologetic about who you are and whose you are. And so I want to
Hmm.
commend you for that. But let's talk about these best practices, because there has to be something that we can encourage and inspire our young entrepreneurs, our leaders that are listening to us on the TV show today. Just have them understand that no, this isn't easy, but with these nuggets, this is how you're able to sustain and able to get through what you want. And above all else, keep your integrity intact, and you can go far. And don't forget about your girl squad. Have your
Hmm.
supportive team around you that are going to encourage, empower, uplift, and sometimes even carry you to the
Hmm.
next level.
Absolutely. Well, when it comes to best practices, one of the things that came to mind for me was following the murder of George Floyd. I told you that we put together a program to hold corporations accountable for some of the pledges that they made. We're going to give
Okay,
$5
so
million.
we're gonna pause. We're gonna pause on that, because holding corporations accountable is huge.
Mm,
That's no small feat. So we're gonna take a quick commercial, and we'll be right back.
okay.
ICABA, ICABA, stands for the International Career and Business Alliance. And basically, it's really about building, activating relationships that grow wealth.
What is ACABA doing? ACABA is putting you in an environment where you can rub shoulders, you can actually talk to wealth creators, to entrepreneurs who may look like you, who may come from circumstances like you, who may come from an environment like your environment. And then once you go ahead and grab that baton, you might say, well, this is possible. This individual over here did it, and now I can do it. So ICABA is raising our level of vision, and they're doing a fantastic.
on here. I just have to see.
Follow the Brand TV broadcast host, Grant McGaw, as he visits with top executives and entrepreneurs to find out their secrets of success with their personal brand. Follow the Brand TV broadcast host as he focuses on brand development to build better relationships, bring value to your business, relationships, and career. You will enjoy listening to each episode that is tailored to speak to you directly. If you're looking for this type of clarity in terms of building your brand, you have tuned into the right station. Each episode will help you to shape a conversation in the 5-star BDM network of 20,000 professionals and become a springboard for your corporate engagement and business opportunities. Each guest will frame their story in the areas of personal branding, business development, career development, financial empowerment, and technology innovation. Grant McGaw explains why he is the CEO and owner of his own professional career. Grant is an accomplished business leader and entrepreneur who wants to give back to individuals to grow their personal brand strategy. Tune in as he weaves his story about new possibilities, while to you exceed expectations. If you love storytelling, this show will make for fun.
Welcome back to the Coaxum Report. We just took a little commercial break, and before we left, holding organizations accountable, holding corporations accountable is where we started at when we talked about big best practices. So, Ara, please explain to us.
Yeah, it is such a big, important topic. Following the murder of George Floyd, there were so many corporations who were saying that, we want to eradicate racism. We want to look at historic racism and figure out ways in which to be supportive. They were looking at their Zoom calls and seeing the boxes on the screens and realizing most of them were of white men, but that the people that they were providing their goods and services to, look like us. Right. So they said, oh, we're going to make these big pledges. And so we said, okay, what's a way that we can hold these corporations accountable to some of the things that they're talking about, and then also provide them with the resources that they need. So we created something called our Diversity and Inclusion Lab. We reached out to a number of the partners that we work with in the past, as well as to some new brands, and said, will you come with us on this journey? We're creating it as we go. But we'll do two things. This is the promise that we make to you. We'll bring together your global diversity officers, your chief diversity officers, your recruitment managers, members of your HR staff, and say, what are some of the best practices? What are the ways in which to recruit African Americans, how to retain them, to make sure that you see them and you promote them? What's the way to incorporate Black suppliers and businesses? How do you identify them? How do you create a supplier diversity program? How do you make sure that your giving is most responsive to the needs of African Americans? We'll provide you with the space in order to have those conversations. We'll bring guest speakers. We'll bring individuals together in order for you to get better at all those sorts of things. Also, what we promise to do is to help you to actually diversify your staff. So we created something called NYUL Connect, which is an online portal that started out being part of our young professionals. So young professionals could log on, create a user profile, say that who they are, what type of business they're currently in, what they're seeking to do business in, and we would match some of the members of our Diversity Inclusion Lab, those 10 partners, with individuals who are seeking employment. So that if any given employer woke up one morning and said, I need to hire an accountant, why don't I go ahead and hire a Black accountant? Instead of being able to use the old adage that they couldn't find a qualified Black person,
exactly.
we're going to break through that by creating NYUL Connect and giving them an opportunity to go someplace either on the portal itself. And if they didn't find someone, to be able to say, I'm picking up the phone and I'm calling the Urban League. I'm going to send them this job description, and they're going to partner with us in finding a qualified person of color, and particularly a Black person, to fulfill that role. And so that's what we did in our diversity inclusion lab. It's grown from 10 to 13 partners, everyone from the Fragrance Foundation, which literally is the association of all those folks that have to do with scent, whether it's perfumes or soaps or lotions, candles, but anything having to do with scent, to some of our standards that we started with, including the Yankees and the New York Jets. And so
I want to pause there, because you like glossing over this, like, oh, we didn't know. This is, again, monumentous. This is huge. So you held corporations accountable, you know, and that's a big thing. That's not an easy feat. And then in addition to that, this diversity lab is game changing. It literally puts feet to fire, right? And not only that, you now have access to all of these qualified individuals that you can partner up in these relationships. So we're no longer saying, I can't find anyone qualified. I can't find anyone of color qualified to sit on this board. I can't find anyone qualified to fill this position. So you're literally getting the right people in the right seats at the right time through this diversity and inclusion program. And you have the best partners to be able to do that. So what I want to commend you, that's a best practice that others really, really, really need to follow. Because at the end of the day, the way that we take it to the next level is, one, accountability, two, make changes, but more importantly, show them the way. Like it's one thing to talk about this is happening, oh, woe is me. It's another thing what you guys are doing at the Urban League. You're making these changes. You're offering recommendations and making changes that historically, systematically, just didn't happen.
Absolutely, absolutely, and we're very proud of the work that we've done. There is so much more to do, but we think that the best practice is really to be able to, people made these pledges, to come to them and say, we want to work with you in order to make sure that you're able to fulfill your pledge. And then we've developed these ongoing relationships. So, we work with New York Power Authority. And so they're talking to us about careers in the energy field. We're able to source people for those positions. But then now they're also supporting our scholarship program. So they're all reaching all the way down into the pipeline in order to find individuals who can identify careers that they want to do in that space. And then also they're supporting the Urban League's Whitney M. Young Scholarship Initiative. So I think that one of the best practices in all of this is to constantly be looking for opportunities. So to look for ways in which
That's a nugget. That's a nugget. We got to pause. I love grabbing nuggets. Constantly looking for opportunities. Surrounding yourself with a positive network, having your squad, people that are pouring into you as you're pouring into them, right? If you look around and everyone is on the same level that you are, something's wrong. You know, we also need
time to find the next circle. Yes.
That's right. Absolutely. So these nuggets are, this we do this show for, so that folks can walk away feeling like, wait, opportunities exist? Let me find them.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for that. And you know what? Solutions, right? We talked about the barriers, and there are always going to be these barriers. But again, Ara, you have been able to really break through a lot of the barriers that others before you were not able to do, and others behind you will not be able to do, simply because your heart is in it, right? And then you have the best network. You're able to reach out to your network, and it's so important to know the right people. And this whole thing that people say, it's not what you know, it's who you know, is so very, very true. And you've been able to take these relationships and leverage them to empower and encourage the young people, to empower and encourage the people that are on your board, to empower and encourage anyone that you come in contact with. And so this is what I see as the solution to moving forward. But talk to me about how you feel.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, you just laid it out, Terry. I mean, I think it's absolutely critical about who you know. I mean, absolutely work to develop a new skill, work on your writing, work on your abilities to analyze information, make sure that you're continuing to read. People aren't sitting down and reading a full book, but making sure you're reading articles, make sure that you're reading Black Enterprise, but you're also reading Fortune. Like, you make sure that your mind is always being challenged. But when you talk about building a network, I know people hear that phrase all the time, build a network, your network is so important, but how do you start, right? And I think it's about challenging yourself to go to the meeting of the National Council of Negro Women, or to go to a conference that's being sponsored by Black Enterprise. Come to an
Or be
urban
a part of
youth
a
event.
sorority, or be a part of
The
sorority. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think sometimes people resist joining. I know I was a person that's kind of resisted joining, but the fact is that it's important for you to connect to like-minded people. And once you get to that event, right? So the extroverts will walk in and they'll just start talking to everybody, right? Chatting it up everywhere. If you're an introvert, tell yourself, you know what? I'm going to speak to any person that I see that has on green. That's it. Once you're done talking with the people who have on green, you're done. But just figure out a goal, whether it's the people with earrings or it's all the people who have on a blue tie. But just make it really concrete for yourself. Take a look at the newspaper that day. Look at the top stories so that you have something that you feel like you feel comfortable talking about. If there's a couple of topics that you feel like you're an
that's
expert
amazing.
in, just all those sort of little things that'll bring you into that room and help you feel a little bit more comfortable. And then the key is to follow up, which I'm always
That's
not the
super
best
amazing.
at. But you've got to send that little note. Great to have met you last night, that sort of thing. And then people love to talk about themselves. Hey, I saw you on Terry's show. I know you're busy, but Miss Rice, can I get on your calendar at some point for a coffee so you can tell me about your career journey, right? People love to talk about themselves, even if they're busy. So I think that those are some of the strategies to build that actual network. We all say we have to have one, but how do you get there? How do you get from knowing 3 people to knowing 300 people? It's a process.
And this is amazing, right? Because I teach networking and I teach time management. And one of the things that I tell my young people, I teach at Medgar Evers College, I've taught at John Jay and Metropolitan. And so when my young people ask me, well, how do you know all these people? I said, you can know them too, but here is how, right? The first thing that I need you to do is read this book called Dig the Well Before You're Thirsty. Yes. Because at 3 a.m., that's a horrible time to call someone you haven't spoken to in 10, 20 years, right? Mm-hmm. And so understand that. And then the other one is how to win friends and influence people. Mm-hmm. Understand that, like you said, people love their name. They love to talk about themselves, right? But more importantly, they love you to know what they're doing and what they're about, right? Mm-hmm. So one of the big things that How to Win Friends and Influence People does is it shows you that there is a holistic approach to everybody, right? So one of the examples I give is about an orange. There's an orange, there's only one orange left. And so you want that orange offer, and so do I. And so we have to decide what we're going to do with this orange. What would be your conclusion? What would you do with that orange? We both want that orange.
Wow. I mean, I'm hoping that we could split it and that you could get half and I could have half.
And see, that's usually what people say. But you don't need to split the orange. The first thing I need to ask you is, what do you need the orange for? And you tell me I want orange juice. And I tell you I want to make a pie. So I can get the peel, you can get the orange, and we're both satisfied with what that result is. And so that is super important to understanding how to manage people, how to lead people, and it's really interesting that when I tell my young people this, they're like, what? The other thing I tell them when it comes to networking, you're right. You're showing them how to make a network. What I tell them is, if you decided to go to that event and you don't meet 5 people, why did you bother leaving your house? Right? And they're like, I could have sat on my couch. I was like, absolutely. Absolutely. So if I introduce them to someone, my challenge to them is to introduce 5 other people. Like, you have to bring your network into the fold of whatever you're doing. And so I'm always encouraging and empowering them. I actually have a wellness foundation. It's going to be like the Bill and Melinda Gates of the hood. So Coaxum Connects Wellness Foundation, what we're going to do is my wellness journey I'll share with the adults, the money that we raise for that, we're going to take fifth graders from fifth grade to college, and we're going to pay for it all. And they'll have the equestrian lessons and they'll have the etiquette training, right? And then at the end of it, out of college, we're going to use our network to get them a Fortune 500 job, to get them a top job straight out of college, because that's what others are doing. And they're going to have the ability and the capacity to be able to do it. I mean, some people, they get out of college and they're like, what am I going to do now? We're going to be their network. We're going to be their accountability partners. We're going to be the ones that are able to say, you can build this thing into whatever you want it to be. And that's why I love the fact that you're always with the young people. You are molding young, impressionable minds each and every single day. And that is the solution to getting out of poverty. That is the solution to being educated. And more importantly, that's the solution to build wealth. And that's what this is all about at the end of the day. We want to build wealth in our communities so that we can sustain and so that we can grow and so that we can continue to be who we are without living from paycheck to paycheck. And so it's so empowering to have you on today. To talk about all you do with the Urban League. You know, you gave us some, you talked about, you came in, you talked about your barriers, all the barriers that come with being, you know, being an interim chair, the barriers that come with being only the second woman in 104 years to lead the New York Urban League. You came in with your knowledge, your skills, your ability, and your network, and you told us how you were able to build and grow that. And that's a nugget, right? Then we talked about some best practices, the things you're doing with diversity, the things that you're doing about keeping corporations honest. I mean, it's no easy feat. I mean, I can imagine some of the conversations that actually get you to yes. Those conversations are not easy, you know? And so I want to thank you so much for actually getting people to yes and continuing to think outside the box about what's next for us, what's next for the Urban League, what's next for the young people. And so I just want to commend you on all of that. And this has been a phenomenal show. I know that, you know, it's silly how time flies when you're having fun, right? But I want you to leave something with our listening audience from all that you do. I want to thank you again for being a part of the Coaxum Report and for being who you are with our young people, as well as all the partnership and leadership that you've given to me and others throughout the way. So I'm going to leave the final thought with you.
Yes, absolutely. First of all, thank you for that analogy about the orange. I've never heard that, and I love it. I think it's fantastic. So thank you for that nugget. So I walk away learning something. I wanted to add 2 books to what you said. I love Never Eat Lunch Alone. So I would encourage people to take a look at that publication. And then always Dennis Kimbrough's Think and Grow Rich. So I think that those are 2.
That's right. That's a favorite.
Yes, so definitely to take a look at those 2. They're kind of those how-to guides on how to get where we're going. But I want to thank you.
I'm going to add one more. Getting to yes.
Getting to yes. Getting to yes. That's a good one. That's a good one. Absolutely. Great guides for us. And I encourage people, the New York Urban League, clearly in 2024, we'll be celebrating Black History Month. Please look out, check out our website at www.nyul.org. We'll be having a whole month full of events and activities that will engage the community and our partners. And we'll look forward to celebrating our 105th anniversary of service delivery in the community, where we've been empowering communities and changing lives for decades. And thank you so much, Terry, for the opportunity to be on the show.
Absolutely. And again, I want to commend you for all that you do. Please feel free to reach out to me. You know I love you and you can't do nothing about it.
Love it.
Let's continue to save the world before bedtime. Thank you for being part of the Coaxum Report. Take care.
You. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.